Just
No, I'm covering for Jen. We're dividing and conquering today.
Oh, good job. Okay. So Jen usually put together an agenda. Do you have that?
I do not. It's not clear from the January meeting what next steps were going to be. Vita,
Bylaws.
well, so, I mean, but part of the challenge I think was, and I don't want to step on Vita or Stephanie's toes or Nate's for that matter. But my sense of this is this thing needs to have an entirely different discussion and structure and approach moving forward.
I agree.
That is going to be A, more structured, B, more formal. And I think part of what we need to know is from those folks who are representatives of the BAC, and I know we're missing a few, some terms need to be re-upped. The person who represents the Human Relations Commission is no longer with the HRC, so we have a person standing by potentially to be confirmed, nominated and confirmed by the county executive for the HRC position. But the question is, who are the people who are currently members? You know, what do you want to see? How do you want to see it be most effective in light of the mandates under the ordinance? What are the tasks ahead? But I know Stephanie but we've been talking about this before, Stephanie Lewis and Vita. So I mean, maybe y'all need to weigh in with Nate and kind of start that conversation and see where we go from here.
If I could, I'm
Sure.
sorry, is someone acting as chair of the meeting? I would direct my comments to that person.
Well, it's supposed to be out of purchasing, so you might as well address them to me. I'm Greg. I'm the director of purchasing.
Okay. I would recommend that, I'm sorry, I'm Jen Frank from the County Counselor's Office. The attorney who had been previously assigned to represent the Business Advisory Council has moved away. So I'm here today along with, she should be on here, Anne Marie Beckerly from my office, who will now be taking over that duty. But I would recommend at the outset that you follow the agenda, which initially calls for a roll call of members.
Yeah.
And I can share that agenda once I am given permission to share.
Oh, go ahead. How do you get permission? I'll give you permission right now. Do I have to push a button or something?
I think we have a generic host. I thought, there we go.
If you can put it in the chat, maybe if you can do that.
Sure, hold on.
That would be helpful.
Okay, so we should probably start with like a roll call so we know if, you know, the quorum is here or not. And then Jen just sent me the suggested bylaws, but we can get to those later.
Do you have a copy of the most current list? Because if you don't, I have it.
The most current list of invitees?
The current list of those firms or those organizations that are listed by ordinance, the 10 that they are.
Oh yeah, I have that.
Okay, yeah, but those are the 10. And some of the names should be there. Some will have expired or will change. And that's whether I don't see a lot of them on here. John Stifford, he's the chair. So normally, if we were doing this by what has been going on in the past, the chair kind of runs it. We just kind of, when you say we, mean the MWBE program, kind of just are there for the support or whatever, and to ask questions and to answer their questions is what has been done in the past. But I don't see Yafet El-Amin. I don't know if Mr. Griffin is
well,
on.
let's do the roll. Let's you know, we'll do a roll call to see who's here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
you're saying you want me to do it, or you want Gina to do it? I mean,
Hang on, let's so how do we typically do these roll calls? I apologize for not being that familiar. Does everybody ID themselves, or do we do a call?
Generally, we do a call, and it's nice to do an alpha order, but not necessary. If you have a list, maybe that's just the best way to go down the list.
Okay. I have the organizations, so I think some people are representing organizations that are different from what we originally thought,
Right.
or, you know, was originally there. So human relations, do we
If I-
have someone from?
If I could, and I'm sorry to interrupt again, but I would recommend that the roll call should be of the members who have been appointed.
I will defer to you totally, since you seem to know this sort of stuff a lot better than
Yeah.
most of us do. So, the appointed, I don't have a list of the appointed names. Nate, do you have that?
I do.
Okay, you want to go through it?
Yes. MOCAN should be represented and appointed by, get represented by Yafet El-Amin. Is she on the call?
Yeah. Sorry.
So Yafet, was that you? I can't see you if I'm reading the list, so.
No, I apologize. I was speaking to someone knocking on my door. That's not Yafet. My apologies.
Yafet El-Amin is not available. Ronnie Griffin represents the NAACP. Mr. Griffin, are you available? No, Mr. Griffin. Human Resource, St. Louis County Human Relations Commission, Ms. Janice.
Janice Harris, who would have been that representative, she withdrew because she's no longer with the Human Relations Commission. So there's not a representative for HRC at this meeting.
Okay, thank you. SLC3, St. Louis Council of Construction Consumers is represented by Ms. Kelly Jackson. Ms. Jackson, are you available? She's not here. NAWIC, National Association of Women in Construction, Ms. Dottie Koch. Ms. Dottie, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Ed Magnus, I know she one time she withdrew, so Ms. McDonald, and I don't know if Ms. McDonald has been approved yet.
What was that for?
Gone through the process and been sworn in.
Okay. So
And what was that for?
AGC, Association of General Contractors of Missouri.
There is someone present?
Yes,
Yes.
Maureen McDonald.
Okay.
Coalition of Black Trades Union, Mr. Mike Newton. Thought I saw him on the call.
Yeah, President. Good morning, all.
Morning.
Okay.
That's is that it?
There's some more. That's only 7.
That's 7.
right.
Okay.
Right.
more.
So it's Alejandro. So I'm assuming Mr. Eduardo Platon. Platone. Or is he here?
I don't think he's been confirmed yet.
I wouldn't know, so that's why I'm asking.
He would be the new CEO of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I don't think he's been approved yet, but he's not. I don't think
Yes,
he's here.
he's not on the call. Mr. John Stifler, St. Louis Building and Construction Trade Council.
Present.
Thank you, Mr. Stifler. Mr. Stifler is the current chairman, or at least we considered him to be at that time. Is that correct, Mr. Stifler?
Nate, to be quite honest with you, I've never been told that. Due to the fact I've been traveling the last 2 meetings, no one's ever told me I was the chairman. I'm not sure how I got to be the chairman, but I'm
Acclamation.
Yeah, I think you missed the meeting, and that's how you did it.
I'm a team player, and I'll do what needs to be done. As long as we have a quorum, I think that we should be okay.
Right now, it don't look like we have that quorum, and then we have involved?
5 yeses.
Okay, and in on the call, I'm sorry, Asian Chamber of Commerce.
Can't hear you, Nate.
It says Win on the call. Am I gone now? Did I
There
unmute
you go.
myself? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Win is with the Asian Chamber, and at one point there was going to be a replace. He was going to step down or term out, but I'm assuming he's not on the call. Okay, so that's your role. Those are the people that were appointed initially from past meetings and bids.
Mr. Chair, by my count, you have 4 members present, which would not be a quorum.
Yeah, so we do not have a quorum.
Okay. Greg, do you want to continue? You want me to continue, or?
Go ahead if you want to.
Well, being that we do not have a quorum, there are some things that I think we need to try to address. One, the meetings, the dates for the meetings have been established, and we're going to start trying to get the people that are missing, the ones we don't know, to try and get representatives from those organizations so that we can start reaching out and get the panel going to where it was intended to be and in the space with the MWB program in St. Louis County. So with that being said, we want to give some updates. We're going to try and follow the agenda. There are no minutes to the previous meeting because of one of the members that was chairing it in the past has moved on to a different department and computer issues, and so therefore we don't have minutes to the last meeting. So with that being said, for the county counselor's office, Ms. Maureen, do we need to take any type motion or anything to move on from that?
Well,
I see
I mean, you
Karen
can't-
shaking her head. So.
Yeah, you can't, and excuse me for
Yes.
jumping in again, but
Jen,
Because we don't have
Jen,
a
you're a
quorum.
little, Jen, could you speak closer to your microphone, please? That would be helpful. And
Here,
if you would, do me a favor, can you just give the group here present an idea of what is not able to be accomplished without a quorum and what we can do in the context of the group that's in attendance, please?
Are you able to hear me better now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'll just,
Yes, much. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, if you have quorum, you can't take up any kind of motion. You can't vote on anything. So even if you had minutes to approve today, that is not something you would be able to take up because you don't have the quorum necessary to vote on a motion. If you have some informational things to share, you can do that. But again, this body can't take any action.
Nobody can make a motion, nobody can second a motion, nobody can make a motion to adjourn. You actually just have to adjourn. And so the most effective use of time perhaps might be for hearing from whether it's Greg and Nate or Gina or others who might want to just share some of the things that are going on. But maybe we need to have some conversation at some point about what this looks like going forward.
Well, I'm going to go ahead with some of the program updates and the changes to the ordinance. There's 4 members, so most of the people will already know most of this. During the past year, and since we've had a BAC meeting, there have been several changes to the MWB program. One, and we do have everyone's email address, so we're going to send out the PowerPoint presentation that I kind of want to go over and give an overview. In light of some things that have happened in the last month, I thought it would be a good time to update everyone on some of our program changes and rule changes. And I think I'm going to have Greg, if you would, go over some of the ordinances that have been changed, some of the language in the ordinance that has been changed. With our rules, MWB program rules, we have started to change the way things are counted and cuffed in St. Louis County. Cuff means commercially useful function, and counting is the work that is being done and completed that will be counted towards MWB Gold credit. St. Louis County does not certify MWB firms. We rely on St. Louis Lambert Airport and the Missouri Department of Transportation to supply us with a list of MW and DBE firms. So we only have to count the participation and cuff, make sure they perform a commercially useful function on all of our projects. We have no control over what a firm is certified to do. We don't certify, we only do those two things. And with that being said, we have instituted some new trucking guidelines that will put us, St. Louis County, in line with most other programs in the area and within our jurisdiction, and also within the best practices for the MWBE space.
Is this an opportunity to ask any questions?
You can, as we go along, if you have one, you can do that now, or you can wait at the end. It doesn't matter. You can do it now if you have any questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. And for those that may not be familiar, I'm Stephanie Lewis. I'm the Chief Transformation Officer for St. Louis County. The question I have is, do we know why or what the decision was at the time for the certification process to be with the airport or another division and not with the county? Do we know why that decision was made or what the benefit of that was?
Well, yes, I wasn't here when the decision was made, but I can tell you why it was made, and here's my opinion on it. The reason why it probably was made is because it takes a lot of talent to do certification. And Gina is on this call and she can weigh in also. But it takes a lot of talent. You have to be very knowledgeable of 49 CFR Part 26 and the dollar amount that it takes to do that. It's challenging legally, and it was just felt at the time, from what I was told, that the best way to approach it and the best way to handle it would be for the city of St. Louis to do it, MoDOT to do it, and we reimburse for those services. So we reimburse currently Lambert St. Louis Airport for said services, and that way we don't have to get bogged down into the situation. Gina,
there's also an efficiency, right? I mean, a lot of the money that comes through from the federal government, from the FTA, goes to MoDOT. And
Right.
so, I mean, people will be certified with them because they spend just a lot more money than we do as a county. I mean, Nate gave me an idea of the dollar figures before. I don't remember what they are off the top, but they're significantly more. So you're already going to be registered with MoDOT, probably, if you're interested in public sector construction. And then for us to add another layer of certification, it's just more paperwork, and we're trying to reduce the amount of paperwork people have to deal with. They're going to look at the same things we would look at. So there's no actual benefit for us doing it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And again, I talked to you on Friday, but welcome to St. Louis County.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we made a decision on the trucking because there was a lot of, I guess, confusion on what a commercial useful function is. And so we decided to put those ready-mix contractors, and for that matter, any trucker that's hauling a product that it does not own or produce, into what the federal government calls a bulk supplier. And again, we're going to send all of this out to you so you have it to read at your leisure. And we don't want to take a lot of time just for the sake of taking it. But in light of what some of the things that have happened in the last month, I thought it would be good to explain to everyone where St. Louis County's MWBE program is and where it came from. 49 CFR Part 26 outlines what the federal government deems to be necessary to run the program, be it a DBE program, which is on the federal transportation side, or MWBE local program, which is what St. Louis County is. And without boring you with a lot of rhetoric, the thing that I would like for you all to remember is that St. Louis County didn't have a program prior to 2018. It was not an MWBE program. In 2018, based upon a disparity study that was done in, I guess for the year 12, it was done in 16, and it was based on the years 12 through 16. It may have been done in 17, but either way, it was a 4-year study, and it gave a lot of recommendations of what should and should not be. Therefore, the county adopted, put in ordinance an MWBE program. Because of 49 CFR Part 26, which is the federal guidelines, we're trying to model and pattern our program after St. Louis County. After federal government and the Illinois Department of Transportation. And why the Illinois Department of Transportation is because the Illinois Department of Transportation's program has been challenged a total of 10 times in district courts and in the federal appellate courts in the federal judicial system. And they're 10-0, which stands to reason that if we ever got challenged, meaning St. Louis County, about their program, then we would have a good standing, I believe, to say that our program would be upheld. They were sued a total of 2 times in district court, and it was upheld in the federal court on the constitutionality of the program, of their program, meaning IDOT's program, and 3 times on the implementation of the program in the district court, and 3 times it was upheld in the federal court. So it just stands to reason that if we model our program, pattern it after theirs, we would have a good chance at surviving a court challenge. There are contractors and organizations that aren't quite happy with the way we're trying to develop and implement our program. But it's the right thing to do, and it's definitely the legal thing to do. We don't want to be challenged by any organization or anyone that's seeking to say we're not doing what we're doing is right. So that's why we do. And I think if we start from there, then we can understand why we're doing it. And it's probably not best thing for some people, but it's the best thing collectively as a whole.
Nate, if I may, and for those who don't know me, my name is Karen Oresti. I'm the Acting Director of Administration for St. Louis County. I hear what you say, and I very much appreciate the statutory protections for the program, because to the extent that we can be really effective in being more intentional with outreach, with education, with whatever support St. Louis County departments can provide to minority and women business-owned enterprise, we want to do it. I mean, apart from it just being the right thing, it makes sense economically for everything in St. Louis County. So to the extent that the BAC exists as a matter of county ordinance, what's the hope for this council? And I would turn that not only to you, but to Mr. Stifler and anybody else currently a member here. What's your hope for how this group of people could be most effective in making that outreach more tangible so that we can get the numbers up in all areas? Love to learn your thinking on this, because I'm very much on the learning curve.
Well, from my perspective, and there are other people on the call, you mentioned Mr. Stifler, he's been around. From my perspective, the BAC would be best served to pass information from us to their members, and then bring back to us what their members think or what their members would like to see happen. But what I don't want to get into is, for lack of a better term, the program, and it's done like this, and there's Greg's on the call. The program is not set up for the contractors to set the parameters and the guidelines. It's not set up for that. There are things that they're asking, and I've been asked, Gina's been asked, that they would like to see, but there's not much validity to what they're wanting, and that's what we can't seem to get them to understand thus far. I think they know it, and it's not negative in their lines, but we can't allow certain things to happen. The best practices industry standards is usually what's governing. And sometimes because of where we've been in the past, it appears that some organizations and some contractors kind of want to still stay in that motif. And that's what we don't want. If you can come to us, they told us at the last meeting from an organization that they would like to, and this is just one example, not turn in a MWB utilization plan until 2 or 3 days later. Well, that may or may work some places, but it's really not conducive for what the intent of the program is. If you've already submitted a bid for said contract, why do you need additional time to submit the U plan? And, we'll hear from, well, we can't get the notice of intent documents signed. And I mean, there's a lot going on, but that's not a valid reason. It's just not a valid reason. If other agencies can do it, the Fed's required to be submitted with the bid docs. I just don't understand why we can't do it. And that's been our biggest challenge. So if the BAC could go back to their membership, we're only doing it for a reason. It's best that they do it. You should not, if you've submitted a bid, we cannot submit a bid late. The bids are due at 12 noon. You have to have it in at 12 noon. You can't turn it in at 12:05. And you can't come like and say, well, I want to change my bid, 4 days, 2 days later. You just can't do that. And it's best for all involved that we turn the U plans in with the bid. And before I finish on this, and then I'm going to turn it over. Most other organizations don't get the pushback that they seem to want to give us, because we're not doing anything legally than other agencies. Other agencies require submission of bids on bid day. Other agencies assess DBE goals on a contract by contract basis. Difference is in St. Louis County now is that St. Louis County is enforcing rules and the regulations, 49 CFR Part 26, which is what our program is based on, and our rules and ordinance that we've adopted through the St. Louis County Council. And that really doesn't sit well with some contractors and some organizations. Not a lot. It's like that small but vocal group. Because most of the contractors comply. They don't have a problem. They turn their stuff in on bid day, U plans, the whole 9 yards. Karen, we are doing outreach sessions for the last 3 months. We've done 3 outreach sessions. We're going to probably have something else going when the police precincts hit the ground. And we'll just keep it going. I think we're getting there. It's a slow process, but I think we're getting there. So that's my take on it. No, I was a little long. But John, you have anything? Gina? Greg?
John, you're muted.
Is that better?
Yeah.
To Karen's previous point and to Nate's point, I don't understand why St. Louis County is an issue. I'll just use the two projects my members are dealing with right now. One is the NGA, which is under federal guidelines, and we have managed to not only have diverse contractors, diverse workforce. We had a meeting not too long ago. Now it's still somewhat new, but we were hitting all the right numbers per se. The St. Louis Soccer Stadium, which has been ongoing. We just had a meeting the other day at my office with the contractors and the tradespeople, and the diversity minority numbers were where they needed to be. I personally didn't think we were going to maybe get there. I know in the beginning there was some zip codes from North St. Louis they wanted the workforce to come from, and my office, I know me and Steve Lewis, we deal with this every single day with the AGC, and we work together tirelessly to where we both kind of beat our heads against the wall sometimes. So I don't understand why the St. Louis County stuff wouldn't just fall in line with the city, with the feds. I probably haven't had two contractors call the St. Louis building trades to say they couldn't get minorities, women. So I'm not sure what's going on either, to Nate's point. I mean, the rules are the rules. I think we are way past these contractors kind of what I would call cheating or telling the county that they're a minority contractors or the boots on the ground. And I'm the first one, and Steve Lewis, I'm not going to speak for Steve, but we're the first ones when we hear that kind of stuff to get all over it. So being that I haven't been on the last couple calls, unfortunately, because my travel schedule, we deal with this every day, and I don't understand what the disconnect is in the county, because it shouldn't be any different than the city or the feds. I mean, we're all trying to do the same thing, the same goals. I had a clergy person call my office the other day about getting some young people in the trades, and I said, bring them down to my office. I would like to have you tour the apprenticeship schools because they don't look like the ones that I went to. And I think Steve will attest to that with the AGC. We are working, together on every one of these issues. So when I do get a chance to get on a call, whether it's the police station, that there's one right by my house off Sappington Road in Gravois that's had a fence around it now since, forever. And I'm like, we should be working on that. We should have contractors. We should have tradespeople, men and women, people of color, everything, doing great things for our county. So I'm just as frustrated from where I sit. Myself and Steve are on the Diversity Contractors Association Committee, RUC, and we deal with this every month, and we help groom and mentor new minority contractors, whether that's insurance, attorneys, bonding, helping them navigate the business world, which God bless them, I probably couldn't do it. So we're all trying to, rally the troops around this issue. But it seems like for whatever reason, myself and Steve have had this conversation, when it comes to St. Louis County, we run into some sort of roadblock or snafu, which it's frustrating on my end because the building trades isn't the building trades of 10 years ago. I promise you that. Right. And we've changed so much in the last 10, and we're going to change more in the next 10 because these unions will look like the communities we serve. And that's my passion and goal. And I know it's Steve Lewis with the AGC. So we're just as frustrated. And it's frustrating that, there's a couple people on our board today that I know aren't on. I'm going to see one of the gentlemen tomorrow because I just think we got a great group of people that, for one of the first times in history, we can get things done. So you can sense my frustration as well. I've had this conversation with Dr. Page more times than he probably cares to hear. And I've talked to everybody on the county council, trying to show them what we're trying to do. So I think our hearts are in the right place. I'm just not sure why we're getting some of the roadblocks, quite frankly.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Dottie or Mike or Maureen, do you have any thoughts? Thank you, John.
Yeah, great points, John, and Nate also. And in my opinion, I know it's always been an issue of enforcement, and it's really good to see. a city resident. So it's good to see the city actually is taking the enforcement side seriously. And, you know, we just hope that the St. Louis County, you know, can have the same luck. And then it's an issue of, I guess, just making sure the standards are the same for everyone. I know there are a lot of people who may not want minority participation in anything. They just want what they want. But it's good to see that there are so many people involved, even on this call here, that are understand the importance of enforcement and just to set standards that you just have to enforce.
I offer also, I'm fairly new to the county, but you know, with the other more established programs such as MoDOT and, you know, the city, we're kind of starting not all the way from the bottom, but we're working our way up as far as repairing and making those relationships that we need to have. And that comes through the outreach piece, and it also works through meetings such as these, but also going out independently of these meetings and coming out to talk to Mr. Stifler and other organizations so that we can better our relationships here at the MWE program level. And I think it's the lack of access because prior to coming to St. Louis County, I don't know if there was a lot of access as far as talking to the people that you needed to talk to. And that's nobody's fault. It's just the programs weren't in place like they are now. So I think that's my take on that. And I think as we're growing and we're developing and we're, you know, putting processes and procedures together, and we're just repairing and making those new relationships, or, you know, just following up on relationships, it should be much better. And I know that's the plan that we have at the MWE program, is to basically get out more into the community so we can talk to the community, talk to the organizations, and making sure that we have a strong relationships. And again, I'm sorry, the last gentleman, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. I apologize. Just thank you, making sure that everything is consistent and across the board, and so that everybody understands. I always tell people when me and Nate go out, it's about changing behaviors right now because there was no compliance into place. And again, nobody's fault. It's just that we need to make sure that the behaviors are changing and that the comprehension of the new rules, the new ordinance changes is understood by all. So that's just my point.
Yeah, I'll chime in on behalf of AGC. Gina, I totally agree. A lot of it boils down to communication. And John, I know Steve echoes everything you said, is in total agreement with trying to get everything kind of on track and figuring out what these roadblocks are in St. Louis County.
So
You know,
I
I
have a
hope I'm
question
not-
for you or for John. It's my sort of pet project here in procurement is getting participation. And I'm not talking about MWB, I'm talking about participation, period. I mean, we do offer an incentive for contracts under $300,000. If you're an MWB, you get a 5% incentive. That's just not attracting the sort of responses that we sort of would hope. And then for some of our other projects, we'll get 2 or 3 bids, maybe, sometimes less. And so I'm wondering, have your people, have any of your membership or anything like that, spoken out or complained or, you know, talked about why they wouldn't be interested in participating in the county contract?
Greg, could I speak to that?
Yeah, I'd love to hear you.
I honestly will tell you that that's the first time that I've heard that. And if there's an issue usually in the county, whether I'm gonna throw out the North County Rec Center that Chairwoman Days is trying to get to come together. I've sat and had lunch with Chairwoman Days, anybody, anytime. So anytime someone's looking for a plumbing contractor, electrical contractor, what have you, people tend to call my office because they're not getting success. And then I get on the phone and call the various trade unions. This is who I represent. And then if we need to get one of the AGC contractors involved or a Corrigan Mechanical, a Saks Electric, it usually only takes a call from me to that various business manager saying, your contractor isn't bidding this work. So if it goes bad, in our terms goes bad, don't come crying wolf now and screaming bloody murder if you didn't even bid the job. So I've not heard of that before, quite frankly. The only issue I'm having is in the city on a project, which the person that came in from out of town to do the project's kind of a bad actor. So I do not blame a contractor for not willing to take the chance of not getting paid. But we know that's certainly not the case in St. Louis County. So if there are issues like that that come up periodically, please call my office and I promise you I can shake the trees enough, or I can get with Steve and say, hey, who do your contractors would bid that? I normally know my business managers and my building trades contractors, but sometimes if it comes to something I'm just not familiar with, we can still make sure we get you the attention that you guys should deserve. I mean, I've not heard this, so I'm glad we're having this extended discussion because I know everybody's busy, but it's unforgivable not to turn in a bid. And there's a lot of smaller minority and women-owned businesses that would love to give you guys a bid. So, but I don't hear that. So I can't kind of poke them a little to say, hey, if you're smart, give the county a bid. You do it once, you get a good reputation, then they call you up for the next project. So anybody can call my office at any time, believe me, and I can do whatever I could do. And I know Steve does the same thing because we work hand in hand.
Could I ask Greg, would you mind just sharing a little bit about what you have done recently on streamlining the process and the number of signatures needed and everything like that? Because I feel like we need to be screaming that from the rooftops.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of that too. For, whatever reason, and this isn't to cast aspersions on anybody, but over the years, when a new requirement would come up, people would create a new form to fill out. So, there's a new ordinance and they'd create a form for it. And then somebody decided it's even better if those had to be notarized. So we had probably a dozen notarized forms that needed to be turned in with our bids, in addition to numerous other forms, in addition to the bid itself. Okay, so we had like the MWB information, we had the bid, we had vendor information, we had all a bunch of things like that. So, I went through all of the requirements and I found that only 2 of them were required, one by statute of the state and one by ordinance. So I combined those 2 into one form and took all the rest of the forms and just made them part of the bid contract, the bid or the contract, depending on, what they were more relevant to. Some things were required for bids. We just put them in the invitation to bids. The others are required as part of the contract, put it in the contract. I mean, there's no need for people to fill out and sign all those forms all those times. So we eliminated a bunch of those. But, to go to what John said, I'll give you an example. Right now, we're putting out another bid for snowplows for next winter. Okay, it's spring and the snow is just melting, and we want to make sure that we have snowplow people next winter when the snow starts again. Well, guess what? We sent out 153 invitations to specific contractors. We looked at people in plowing and hauling and towing, anybody who had a truck, basically, that they could just drop a plow on the front. We got 1 response out of 153. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about participation. Now, maybe we'll have more people when we have less of a bureaucratic red tape for them to deal with. I don't know. But what I would really encourage, people like John and the rest of you to do is to tell your people, take a look at the company's projects and maybe put a bid in once in a while. I mean, some projects are very small. And they could do them maybe over a week or something like that. Some projects are much larger. We have a couple coming up that are going to be pretty big. But also, and this goes to what Karen was saying, what I'm really interested in is if they find obstacles or barriers, speak up, let us know, let me know. I'm real interested in hearing that sort of stuff. If somebody says, look, man, I kind of wouldn't mind bidding, but I don't want to spend the 8 hours to fill out your forms. I want to hear that. I mean, just common sense would tell me that that's going to be an issue. But if there are other things, I'm totally interested in hearing them. And if it's something that we can change within, just our procedures, why not? Let's just change it. Let's make it easier
I
for
ask
people
this?
to participate.
May I ask this question? And I'm listening to everything. Prior to joining the county, just anecdotally, I did hear, kind of the rumor mill is that it is very difficult to do business with the county. It's very difficult to bid, and if you're a minority business, it's even more difficult. I'm sure some of that data would have come out in the 2017 disparity study, and I know that there's about to be another one. But would it not be for this committee to maybe look at the overall process, maybe from beginning to end? And I don't know how long it would take or what it would take to do that, but there's got to be something there. If you say 100 and something people, you sent a solicitation to 100 and something people and only one responded. That speaks volume to me that there's something inherently wrong with either our process or the bid, or something's going on that we don't know about. And that's big enough to say that, we should know about it. So I think maybe, and I hear you, Greg, when you say, you want people to reach out to you, but I would guarantee you that there are probably a number of people that don't know who Greg is, or don't know how to go about responding or even submitting their concerns. So I wonder, and maybe if this has been done, please share, but how do we go about looking at every phase of our process and evaluating it? Because as I look at our charter here from the ordinance, it looks like, looking at the process and making some determinations as to how it works and whether or not it works correctly, or the effectiveness of the program is what it says. And it sounds like maybe there's some things that are prohibiting us from being more effective. And so I think maybe breaking down each stage and looking at it and seeing where there could be some improvements might be a start, perhaps, for this committee. But it does kind of makes me wince a little bit to know that all this effort is going out to get solicitations and no one's responding. So the county's got a reputation for something. We need to know what that is. The county's got a problem with our process. We need to know what those problems are. And we need to have some kind of way in which to fix it. And I'm assuming that that might be the role of this committee. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things it says our charter is to look at the effectiveness of the program. And it sounds like we've got a little bit of ways to go, even though there have been a number of great strides in changing some of the processes and changing, some of the things. I think the community yet either doesn't know that or still doesn't feel that it's a good place for them to land and is worth the effort to apply.
So I haven't taken a systematic study. It's a matter of manpower and time, really, but you're right. So we've looked at a few things that are, sort of maybe low-hanging fruit type things, right? One thing that just would occur to me is getting information out there. Okay. The way we disseminate information about our bids or about our projects is, to me, possibly one of the issues, right? We post it on the vendor self-serve site or on our website, but unless somebody's paying attention to the county website, they're not going to catch that. So we've talked about other ways of doing it. Last week, about a week or two ago, we started using another widely used site called Public Purchase, where there are hundreds of thousands of vendors that are registered in that. Okay, so that we'll get information out like that. We do personal emails, like the ones that I just mentioned. We actually send emails to businesses, okay, suggesting that there might be an opportunity. Now, part of the reason for that particular fiasco was it was pretty late in the season. If anybody's going to be able to plow, they probably already had their jobs lined up. But it's not atypical for us to get only one or two bids. And part of it might be some of the things that we buy. They're very specialized pharmaceuticals. Okay, got it. but there's some things that are just widely available. And yeah, we can look at. I'm real interested in hearing feedback from, vendors as to why they wouldn't be interested in participating. And that's why, that's one thing that I think this group could be really great with, is getting that to us, because you're right. I mean, nobody knows who the hell I am, right? And they wouldn't know who to like send a complaint off to whom it may concern. But yeah, we need to get information out there, and we need to have a good way of getting their thoughts, right, and their reactions back to us, so that we can actually have something that's actionable, instead of saying, well, I'm not going to bother. Tell me what it is, and then we can change that.
So I guess what I'm asking, Greg, and I think we're all probably saying the same things, maybe slightly differently. I'm wondering, and I know we don't have a quorum to make any real decisions, so this is for discussion purposes until we have a quorum. But I'm wondering if we could, maybe part of the action of this committee is to sort of look at the overall process, take it, bit by bit by bit, and see, kind of look at that and see where we have some holes. In conjunction with that, look at the last disparity study to see what the concerns were, and see if there have been any changes made, at least since the last study, recognizing that there's about to be a new one. And then once that happens, and that's going to take some time, but once that happens, we can certainly compare and contrast. But I think we've got some data. It may be a little bit old, it may be dated, but we do have some data that individuals have shared. And what we don't know, or at least I don't know if we know, how much has changed since there's already been some feedback presented to us. And maybe we start there.
And maybe we can.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Are we waiting until, if this is quarterly, are we waiting until, when's the next meeting scheduled for? I'm sorry.
Quarterly, so it would probably be early summer.
Can we have committees, and Ms. Lewis, I would like to offer with that, with the data that we have, and Greg as well, when we find that out, there needs to be probably a couple of outreach plans as well. So I think that that's very, very important, that we have, MWBE outreach plan, a procurement outreach plan, and maybe an overall BAC outreach plan.
Jen, are we prevented because of the lack of quorum from asking for a special meeting? So prior to summertime, or could we just do that as could procurement do that as the ordinate, the office itself?
Sure.
Maybe.
Jen?
I think I would have to get back to you on that. We'll have to look at the enabling ordinance in terms of having additional meetings.
Because maybe if that's a possibility, because it is special, we could send out a notice to the current board, and then make some efforts to move some of those nominations that are pending in the meantime, and see if we couldn't get a meeting sooner, to try and keep this conversation more alive, rather than waiting another quarter. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Hey, Greg.
Sure.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
If this will help, two things. I have a meeting with Steve Lewis next Tuesday. It's our monthly labor management meeting. I've already wrote notes to bring this up, not only to my executive board, but to the contractors that come to that monthly meeting. I just reached out to my brother-in-law who does work in the county, whether it's asbestos removal, whether it's re-insulation of boilers and pipes. And I said, how's your experience been dealing with St. Louis County? Are there any issues that are out there that you want to share? And he said, my experience dealing with St. Louis County has been amazing. We get in, we get the project, we get the prints, we do our job on time, under budget, we get paid on time, which that's a huge thing in the contracting world. So he just sent me a glowing text. So we'll just keep digging down with me and Steve at the labor management. I don't probably represent many people that do snow plows, but then I have a 1:30 meeting today with the Teamsters. So that bell went off in my head saying, hey, just by you bringing that up, I'm going to be with the Teamsters this afternoon because we have a project at General Motors that's being pre-job today. And that'll give me an opportunity to say, hey, do you have contractors that do that? Because I don't know that world. I know the cement truck drivers. So the more we talked and brainstormed, the more notes I wrote and the more things that, like, these meetings are very valuable. Even if we have a quorum or not, it's a chance for me to kind of shake the trees this afternoon and then next Tuesday and say, look, there's a lot of contractors that come to that monthly labor management meeting for the SLCC. It used to be called Pride. A lot of minority contractors. So it helps me and Steve get in front of them and say, look, check that county website. There's work out there. I think there's so much work that we can all prosper and bring in more young people into the trades, quite frankly. And that's what we all want. So I appreciate you. Just as much as I didn't understand when you said you weren't getting bids, you did reference snowplows, which who knows, maybe some of my people represent snowplow drivers. Maybe they don't, but it's neat to bring this stuff up and then we can get it out to a greater audience. So I wanted to thank you and tell you that you guys got great compliments from my brother-in-law and he doesn't give them to me. So you're getting more than I'm getting.
In lies Mr. Stifler, while you're the chair.
Well, about an hour and a half ago, I wasn't aware of that, but you know what? Like I said, hey,
That's why you're the chair.
my office is here and we're all here to work as county and residents and Missourians to get this thing done right. So we can keep telling everybody our successful stories.
So to go back and not to beat a dead horse, I'm wondering, per ordinance, how do we have sub meetings to really start taking a bite at looking at our process? When I look at the ordinance, and hopefully this is the most current one, page 8, section, I don't know what section this is, 7. And one of the points here just says the committee shall monitor the effectiveness of the county's program described in this order. So, but it doesn't tell us how do we do that, right? It doesn't give us guidance on the process for doing that and what we can or can't do. So I think to monitor the effectiveness, we've got to meet a little bit more, I think, and start taking some chunks at looking at the process to see where it lies. And then it sounds like maybe we can bring that back to the larger group or committee. So I think someone should look and see whether or not we can do that and if it would violate any parts of the ordinance if we kind of had sub meetings.
Jen, can you kind of give us a yell back on that?
Yes, when you say sub meetings, are you saying that you would like the council to like form committees to
Yes.
To look at various things?
Yes.
Okay, we can look at that and provide an answer.
Hey, Jen, can I ask a question? All of my boards and committees, I'm on the St. Louis County Building and Appeals Commission. We haven't had a meeting for any other reason. There was nothing on the agenda, but are the county meetings, and I'm using this one because I do travel a lot. I'm a one-person office, so I can't have somebody like fill in for me. Is there any ideas about getting back like in-person meetings? So that way, if I know I have to be, say, at the county government center for my other meetings, I'm there. But if I know I have to attend by Zoom or phone, sometimes I'm on a call driving to my meeting. Is there any thought or is there any talk about that, or is that still kind of taboo?
Well, I'm willing to say it. I don't know what the folks in the MWBE office feel, but I think there's certainly reasonable opportunities for us to gather together. We have some meeting rooms that have been set aside on the first floor, what we call the street level, right off 41 South Central, so that you don't have to worry about coming into the building and the hassle with that. And it really depends on Nate and Gina and maybe we can do things that are hybrid. But I'm all for gathering together because sometimes I think it creates greater investment for people to actually put themselves in a space. So we need to do that, but we could certainly poll the rest of the folks on the BAC and just see what their sense of things is and how it might be appropriate to proceed.
When we first started having these, I believe there was, I don't think none at the time, none were in, well, not none. I think the first two that we had were actually at 41 South Central, but after COVID, we have not had one. And part of the reason was because of the, you know, the public sector portion of it. And it was just kind of difficult to have it open to just a county select BAC committee and then do the other via Zoom. So if the decision was made at that point, we just do it via WebEx or virtual. So that's something we can take a look at it as we go forward. Hopefully within the next 3 months, 4 months, there'll be some opportunities. Other than the council, though, Ms. Karen, I don't know if there are 20 people on the call right now, and I don't know if the biggest classroom that we have at 41 South Central is 8th floor, isn't it, other than the council chambers?
Right.
So I don't know if that would hold 20, you know, in a quote unquote safe environment. So, but it's something we could take a look at. I mean, for sure. I mean, we can get the schedule of the council chambers, and we can, you know, we can certainly have some public interest in it.
I would also offer that if we had to do a hybrid meeting, where my office is housed on Highway 44 in Hampton at the IBEW auditorium.
Right.
We're having a meeting there this afternoon on a General Motors project, and there'll be 75 people in that meeting hall. All the tables are 6 feet apart. The chairs are 6 feet apart. They have hand sanitizing station and masks at every counter. And I know they would always allow me to use that if we needed to do it quarterly. It might be a little bit of a pain because it's not in the county, but there's other union auditoriums, not their offices, the big banquet hall types, that if I asked, I know they would let us use that anytime we needed, as long as we had a little bit of notice. Just as an offer, if the things in the county are still kind of on lockdown.
That's good.
Thanks, John.
I apologize. I have to roll off for another meeting, but I want to thank you all very much. It's nice to meet some folks that I haven't met before, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. And Jen, looking forward to those reports back. Thanks so much. That might really help moving on down the line. Talk to you again soon.
Bye, Karen.
So I guess are there any other questions on things that we've discussed so far, so we can keep it moving? Get some of the things there. Okay. I think the next, Greg, do you have any significant ordinance changes that you want to discuss, so we can move on with that?
No, we're good.
Okay, good. I think Pam, and you got a few major projects that are coming up that you wanted to go over, or?
I've got a list of upcoming transportation projects I can share with the group. I'm not sure. I apologize. I haven't been to one of these before. I'm helping to cover for
Different
Joe
than our
Blessett.
regular meeting is with those. The major projects, we don't have to get into those smaller issues, but
Okay.
if you got any major stuff that's going on.
Nothing really. I'm not sure what your definition of major is, but we do have a number of projects coming up. Some have federal funding, some are county funded. I have a list I can share from my screen if you want to go that route. Otherwise, I can make this list available to everybody on the call after the meeting, if that would be easier to help keep
Probably
things.
the easiest. Yeah, that
Do you
would
wanna do
probably
that,
be
Greg?
best.
Okay, I can send it to you and Nate after the meeting, and you can disseminate as you see fit, if that's okay with you. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Ray, Crater, did you have the same on our facility side?
Yeah, I could provide the same thing, just Pam, rather than get into the minute details and the smaller projects. But I mean, the two big projects that I think everybody here is aware of is the two police precincts, precinct 1, precinct 3. That's the two imminent projects that we want to get underway. So I think all of the rest of our projects are either in study, or they may be of a smaller nature that some may be interested in, but rather than go through all those details right now, I can provide that like Pam does.
Ray, do you, and Greg, I guess also, have we gotten that over to everybody, everyone that's moved on with it? Are we anywhere closer, or has it gone to MNH yet, or if you know?
I believe it's believe it's in its final stage right now, Nathan.
So that sounds like that final stage for you getting it to MNH, or that MNH has it and they're looking
No,
at it?
I think we're in the final stretch of getting it re-advertised. I don't know that we have a date yet, but
No. I was just kind of where it was going, because there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of interest in it, of course.
sure.
Just wanted to see where it was. You think we're within the next week or two? Sounds good.
I would say maybe more in the next month.
Next month. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Before it hits the street, that's
Yeah.
like May.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions? Kenny?
I think we're good.
You know, everybody? Okay. Well, with that being said, if there's no quorum, I guess we just will adjourn the meeting, and everyone have a nice day. There, we will get notice, and we're going to probably start making some personal calls. I know I am, to those who I know that have not attended these and that are on the list for the particular organizations, so we can kind of get more people involved, and so we can try and do the business of what the BAC was actually intended to do. So I want to thank everyone for their time. It's a little short. You got an extra 45 minutes. I yield that to Mr. Greg Tater and Miss Stephanie Streeter, and you guys can have back at it. So
Really, so.
All right.
John, it's
that
good
sounds
seeing you as always, man.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.